What is up, YouTube? It is Far Superior, and I am here with my friend Nick. And welcome to the first episode of The Extra Point, where we talk about this week's hottest sports topics. How are you
All
doing?
right. I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing great. Well, a lot of
Awesome.
things are going on in sports. You got opening day of
Yeah.
baseball, NASCAR is at its peak, basketballs are creeping up to the finals, March Madness is going on, and NFL is hitting free agency and very soon the draft.
Yeah.
So a lot of good things in sports, but especially NFL free agency. We're kind of in the lull of all the hot players getting taken already, and the draft is slowly creeping up. So Nick Coleman, what
Yeah.
team has had the best free agency so far?
So I'm gonna have to go with the bandwagon Raiders on this one. I'm not gonna go Browns just because they got one player. Um, I like the Antonio Brown signing. 3 years, $50 million, 30 guaranteed. Whether you like his attitude or not, he is one of the best in the game, arguably the best. It's a huge steal, especially since they lost Amari Cooper. Huge need. I think they'll be set at receiver with him and now Tyrell Williams. I love that deal. Not overly exciting player, but people forget. I believe it was in 2015 he was their leading receiver because Keenan Allen went out for the year, broke 1,000 yards, was All Pro. I think he led them in receptions as well. So I'm very excited to watch the Raiders offense this year. It'll be really cool. Defensively, I was excited to see LaMarcus Joyner join the Raiders as well. 4 years, $42 million contract. Very good price for someone like him. He is a speedster. We all remember the Super Bowl. The defense for the Rams was phenomenal. Both him and Littleton really stood out to me in the Super Bowl. I think he broke almost 10 tackles in the game, which is impressive. So I'm very excited for that. The one downside I had on the Raider signing would be offensive tackle Trent Brown from New England. He was great last year, yes, but they also have Dante Scarnecchia, who is arguably the best offensive line coach we've ever seen. I hope he does good. He is the biggest player in the NFL. I believe he's 6'7". I want to see 360 now. So yeah, he's losing some weight, Hunter. And
Yeah,
he,
definitely.
he's yeah, he's a good player. And he can be good. I don't think he's smart enough for what John Gruden's system has him doing. But we'll see how he works out. He's getting paid a lot of money, so they better hope so. Another thing I like about the Raiders is going to be their draft picks. Three first
Three.
round draft picks. Two, I got a 24, a 27, and then a lottery pick at number 4. And there are rumors going around this week from Gruden and his staff that they are trying to trade up for another lottery pick. So could you imagine
I have heard
a
that, yes.
4 and then another top 10 pick? I mean,
It's insane.
how do you beat that offseason?
I mean, teams thought, he was kind of losing it, getting rid of Khalil Mack and just literally tearing down his team. But
Right.
in the long run, and Amari Cooper, but in the long run, he's getting a young team together.
I mean, the guy signed a 10-year contract, so he wasn't worried about doing anything at all last year.
Right.
It's his team. He's going to change it how he wants to. I think he's already exceeded my expectations. I thought it would take a couple years. They could be really deadly this year, depending on who they get in the draft. I think it should be defense because they had the second worst defense in the league last year. So it should be defense, but we'll see.
Definitely. I mean, they entered the NFL or they entered free agency with a cap space of $29.5 million,
Yeah,
seventh in cap space. They come out and they sign 12 people, seven main people: Antonio Brown, Trent Brown, Vontez Burfict, Lamarcus Joyner, J.J. Nelson, Curtis Riley, and Tyrell Williams. That is seven pretty top-notch guys, both offensively and defensively. So the reason that I think they had a good free agency, Derek Carr needed targets. His top
yeah,
target last year was Jared Cook, and he's a tight end, and now he's with the Saints. So you took away his top target, and also Jordy Nelson's gone, retired. So the Raiders, just in free agency alone, not even the draft, they picked up three wide receivers in free agency. You got Antonio Brown, Yeah, attitude and a lot of drama to come with it, but he is a good
Yeah,
player, and he'll last you a couple seasons, 2, 3, maybe 4. You also got J.J. Nelson, a underrated guy, quick, fast, can get down the
very
field,
fast.
deep threat. And also Tyrell Williams, like you said, phenomenal receiver all around. When Keenan Allen went down, Tyrell Williams stepped up. I had him in my
Yeah,
fantasy that year,
huge.
and he wasn't
Yeah,
that bad. So another reason, the need to protect Derek Carr. Derek Carr was sacked 51 times last year.
yeah.
And we all remember, him
Impressive.
getting sacked and crying when he got up. I don't know if it was actual tears, but I mean, I would too if I
I
got
do
on my
remember that.
I got knocked down 51 times.
Yeah.
So 52 if you want to count AJ McCarron's play or a couple plays
Mhm.
he had. So they went and signed Trent Brown to seal the outside. If he's going to play left tackle or right tackle, I'm not sure yet. Probably right? So
It should be right. That's his normal position due to needs last year. The Pats had him playing left, that's good that you can go from right to left like that and be successful. I just don't think he has the smarts for the Gruden offense, but we'll see. He's got a 4-year contract, so
right. So I mean, he'll at least seal the outside possibly for passing and not
yeah,
running downs, but mostly passing down. So that'll
definitely
help Derek
pass.
Carr
Yeah.
get that seal that outside. Raiders defense 30th against the rush and 19th against the pass. So 8 of 16 games, so 50% of their games was not close. So other team running the ball, they're going to run it a lot to chew the clock. So them signing 3 DBs, 2 safeties, and 1 corner just in free agency alone. We're not talking about the draft. We're talking about free agency alone is helping that defense big time. And
Well,
3 good DBs as well.
yeah, and I think to go along with that, they're probably waiting. They need a defensive front. They need one. I forget who they signed. I think it was Johnston or something like that. They signed him. He's been on their team a couple of years. Or like a 1 year, $8 million contract. Really just a rotation guy to give someone a break. They need a defensive front. They have the 4th pick overall, unless they do some weird trade with that. If Nick Bosa is available, you need a pass rush. That should be the guy to go for. Also, Ed Oliver and Rashawn Gary are in the draft as well. Those are great pass rush and block holders. So I think they got to go D line with at least one of their first round picks.
They also got a 15-yard penalty on signing Vontez Burfict to a 1-year, $5 million deal. So good for them.
That's right. He's also going to miss the first 4 games because
Yep,
of some reason he'll do something bad in the next week.
probably.
So
So we had the best team in free agency. Our choice was both the Raiders. Now we're going to look at the team with the worst free agency. What do you got?
I'm going to go with my New England Patriots. I'm very disappointed. I think everything was looking okay. Tom Brady will be 43 this year. Okay. He's got Julian Edelman,
Mhm.
Chris Hope, Philip Dorsett, if you've ever heard of him.
I have.
Who else? They lost Cordero Patterson, who I was excited about as a Pats fan. He's an all-around player. They used him in the run game. Not the best hands, but he is speed. They can use him down the field. He's with the Bears. Um, depending on whether or not Josh Gordon comes back, I don't know. They do. They did sign him technically if he is capable of getting physically healthy again. He can play one more year on that contract. You know, it's they haven't done anything yet. Obviously, the draft they have 12 picks, which is tied with I think the Colts for the most in the league, so they can obviously do some damage. Bill Belichick, we know that in the draft. As of this moment, right now, they've done nothing but lose Trey Flowers, lose. They're going to lose Danny Shelton of the defensive line, which they desperately need. They do not have a defensive line. They're awful. Don't talk to me about the Super Bowl. I don't know what happened there. I'm glad it happened, but their defensive line is garbage. They really are, and they already lost. And they lost one of their starters. They lost Malcolm Brown, another defensive tackle, to the Bengals, I believe. They couldn't get Danny Amendola when he came out. I was excited for him. Maybe they can have another target Brady likes. So they've really done nothing but lose players on both sides of the ball. I will say this: they do still have their punter Ryan Allen. That's great. They still have their special team guys, which is good. Well, when you do nothing so far but lose players, I think they signed they signed Bruce Ellington as a receiver. I mean, they haven't made enough moves to me. I'm very disappointed so far in what I've seen from the free agency. They better pick it up in the draft. I just haven't seen anything. We talked about Trent Brown also on the offensive line.
Right.
They used to have depth there. Now all they have is what was their first round pick last year, Isaiah Wynn, who hopefully, obviously, we don't want to see him want to get hurt out for the season again. After that, they don't have anybody else. They had long-time backup Ladrian Waddle. He's now gone. Long-time backup offensive tackle Cameron Fleming. He's now gone. I just don't know what they're going to do. They're going to have to make all 12 of these draft picks really count.
Yeah, that's true. They were not the best free agency. I mean, the Panthers, my team, not really a very decent, not very good free agency either. I have two teams. The first team that didn't have the worst, but it's kind of disappointing, the Colts. Yes, they have, you said, like 12 round picks,
Yeah.
but they walked in to free agency with $72 million in cap space. That's first by like 30 million.
Yeah.
And they signed Devin Funchess, Marcus Hunt, Clayton Geathers, Pierre Desir, that's how you say his last name, and Justin Houston, which Justin Houston was a good pickup, but still, I would have liked to see more than that for them.
Yeah.
But I'm going to go with the Dolphins, with the worst free agency, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Come into the free agency, $28 million, ninth in cap space. With 52 sacks allowed last year with Ryan Tannehill, they lost a top defensive lineman in Cameron Wake, 26th in points and 31st in yards offensively. Horrible offense, not a very good defense, and they go get Dwayne Allen, Ryan Fitzpatrick, and Eric Rowe. That's it. 3 signings. They get rid of Ryan Tannehill for Ryan Fitzpatrick, and that could be good for one of two reasons. One, they get rid of Ryan Tannehill because he was going to cost more money. So if they want to get a quarterback this year in the draft, that's fine. Or if they want to tank this year with Ryan Fitzpatrick and get a quarterback in next year's draft, that's fine. If they think Ryan Fitzpatrick is going to be their franchise for elite quarterback for at least 4 or 5 more years, you got another thing coming. But they signed him to a backup deal, 2-year, $11 million. So I don't like the Dolphins just because they didn't do a lot on free agency. I mean, yes, they have the draft here and there, but I could see them being, if they don't severely improve their team with as bad as their offense is, not really going to have a quarterback unless they draft one. They don't have any receivers. They have one running back, Kenyon Drake, and that's it. That's literally the whole entire offense. And sacks, 52 sacks. So not a very good offensive line either. And they go and pick up 3 people, and one being a tight end.
And they got new coach Brian Flores, who was great for the Patriots as their defensive play caller, as Belichick called it. Wouldn't call him a coordinator. We'll see how he does. They still have the draft. We're early. This is before the draft. The draft makes a difference. But you are correct. They only have, I believe, one first round, and it's I think the 10th or the 11th pick.
Yeah.
I mean, the
All
teams
the
in front
great
of them.
talent is gone. Yeah.
Exactly. If they're going to want a good quarterback, a franchise quarterback, they better hope they trade up because Kyler Murray should be gone. I believe it's Drew Lock should also be gone. Haskins will be gone, probably by the Giants. So, yeah, that's a very good point about the Dolphins. I don't know what they'll do either. They have to make some moves.
I mean, honestly, I could see the Dolphins, if they don't make good moves in the draft or the remainder of free agency, I could see them being the worst team in football next year, if not one of the worst teams in football.
Yeah.
It's going to be bad.
I see it. Very good point.
Yeah. So, speaking of NFL came out with a new rule that could cause a lot of controversy.
Yeah.
But it will help the game, possibly. The NFL is allowing challenges on pass interference plays or non-pass interference plays.
Yeah.
Before the 2-minute warning. After the 2-minute warning, it is going to be up to the head referee to booth review that pass interference call. Do you agree or disagree?
I disagree because just like what a new catch is, right? Jesse James thought he had a touchdown against the Patriots late in the fourth quarter to take the lead and win the football game. Um, Ended up hitting the ground, losing control, therefore was not a catch. Next play, interception, Patriots win. We look back 2013, 2014 season. We Everyone remembers the Dez catch or no catch against the Packers. Ball hits the ground, whatever. They changed the rule off of one circumstance. I mean, I obviously can't witness or see every game. I try to keep up with everything I can. So as far as I know, there were no other, Roby Coleman incidents throughout the season that had any major effect, right?
Right.
Everyone looks at that. That's the one. There was one play. I know it was a big play. It was in the NFC Championship game, and it had somewhat of an effect, right?
Oh yeah, definitely.
But
Here we go.
we just one play shouldn't change a whole new rule for
Right.
one play. I just don't understand. I understood people don't like it, but the whole hitting the quarterback thing, the late hit, roughing the passer, I get that because Aaron Rodgers, all these guys keep getting hurt year in and year out from these vicious hits, getting buried to the ground. They're trying to keep that from happening. I like that. I don't mind the rule at all. But it affects everybody. It's one play. So now every single pass interference call, I mean, some people might not understand this. A pass interference, you could tap somebody's arm like this, and that could be a pass interference.
Yeah. True.
Okay, in the
True.
rules, as far as physical contact, that could be a pass interference. So now every single pass interference call, a coach is going to review it, and I think it's going to be mayhem. I really do. All from one play. Everyone also forgets that the Saints also had the ball in overtime with a chance to win.
True.
Drew Brees
And
threw an
he threw an
interception.
interception. Thank you
So
for bringing that
one
up to all my
one
Saints.
play, and I'm like, I mean, I can't believe they made the rule. And they said I believe it was 31 out of 32 coaches, everyone except the Bengals owners. Every owner except the Bengals owner actually voted on it. I didn't think
All
the
32
Bengals had it in
coaches
them.
agreed. All 32 coaches agreed on it. Head coaches.
Yeah, all the coaches
Yeah.
agreed. Yeah, I know Sean Payton was thrilled or whatever,
Yeah.
but
Very.
I think the long term effect of this is going to be mayhem.
It might well be. I mean, I do agree with it just so I don't have to hear all these crybabies when their team doesn't win. Granted,
Yeah,
if my team got screwed over like that, yeah, I'd be upset, but I'm not going to take it to an extreme. But
yeah.
I do agree on it, but there are some downfalls like you said. One downfall, I mean, is the
It's
what you said, the basically what is a pass interference? Just like what is a catch? You're not going to know, and it's going to be a bunch of trial and error.
hmm
And how many calls can you say you would have wished been reviewed? I mean, a lot of them, obviously, but it will affect the NFL. I mean, it's going to be a bunch of trial and error. And what is pass interference? Is it too much contact, too little contact? And there's going to be some debate on if that is a pass interference or not. And so with a catch, you have what is a catch, both offensively and defensively. For offense, you have, or for pass interference, you have what is offensive pass interference and what is defensive pass
defense.
interference. It's
Yeah,
not the same thing. So they're going to have to do both, not
yep.
just what's defensive pass interference, but what is actually offensive as well. And that's just going to be a whole new thing, and it's going to be mayhem. It really is. But I don't know.
I just think like to expand on your point, it's going to be hard to disclose what's what, and because the rule of the penalty of pass interference is so kind of touchy. What are they going to review? Is my thing. I mean, you're going to review like both people could be putting their hands on each other. Like I don't understand the non-calls. Oh, I think that's a pass interference. Let me throw the flag, and they're going to go back and look at it and call it a pass interference. I mean, it can be the smallest little thing. It could change everything. Oh, he grazed his arm. Yeah, that's pass interference. I mean, and it's also of course refs look at it. I don't know the exact rule. I don't care for it. I don't like the situation anyway. But I think like I'm thinking the situation. So obviously, with the Saints situation, yeah, they can review that. They'll go, okay, pass interference all day. They get the ball, first and goal. But it's what other situation besides that one would this work out? Like, are
Right.
they expecting this to happen every game? Someone's going to have a blatant pass interference call and a ref's going to blow it. Hire full-time refs and you won't have the problem. Hire the full-time refs. That's what they should have done. But instead, they're trying to change the rule book completely. I think it's stupid.
I get it. I get it. Another reason people don't like it, I've heard, is it's going to drag the game out even longer than it already has with all the reviews and all that kind of thing. I don't mind that as much. I mean, yes, I do like the rule, but just because I don't have to hear people complain about it. But in the long run, I still will hear people complain about it because they're not going to know what a pass interference call is. And also Hail Marys. Like, are they going to? There's pass interference on a
Oh
Hail
God,
Mary. People getting tackled in the end zone. Are they really going to call it on Hail Marys too? That's another thing.
it's just a petty move by the owners, is what it is. From what I actually, if you read anything, I think ESPN had just a quick spiel on it Tuesday when they came out with it with the news. Sean Payton and their owner, I forget the owner's name, went ballistic. They went off, red faced, nearly yelling and pleading for this to happen. I just think it's a real petty move by them and by the owners to go with it. It's not going to work out in the long run. I don't think it'll last past this year. I really don't.
I don't care what Saints fans think about me, but they've taken the cake on
That's
being
right.
the most annoying fans in the NFL.
Yeah.
That's for certain.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is a petty move, and who knows? It might turn out to be good, but 9 times out of 10, just like the last 2 years, the catch rule, it ain't
Yeah.
gonna it ain't gonna do much. But we are recording this on Thursday, March 28th, getting off of football, and that is opening day of the MLB
Baseball.
baseball.
Yes.
Something that I'm
Love it.
very excited to see, as you can see by the dew. But anyway, so our third and final topic of today is going to be the top 5 MLB teams for opening day. Who do you have up there at number 1?
Number one, I got to go with Boston Red Sox. Mainly because they have the same team. They lost Joe Kelly at relief. As a Sox fan, people probably think I'm a bandwagon by now, Hunter. Sox, but I swear I'm not. As a Sox fan, they really watching them all preseason. They do look the exact same. Same offense. Literally nobody is gone. They
Right, the
lost
same
Kimbrel
team.
and they lost Kelly. That's a great relief pitcher and obviously arguably the best closer in the game. They will need to figure that out. I think throughout the entirety of the season, they can either discover one on their current bullpen, or they can go out and get one. I think they'll be just fine. I think I have them. 108 wins. Can they repeat it? Sure. Can they do better? Sure. They'll probably break 100 wins. I don't know if it'll be 108, but I think they can break 100 and definitely win it all. Who's your first?
I'm gonna stick with the Red Sox as well, just because they have the same exact team as last season, and the
Yeah.
starting rotation's basically the exact same. Key factor, in my opinion, is Chris Sale. He needs to stay healthy. He is the
Yeah.
backbone of
That
their
shoulder.
pitching.
Yeah.
Yes, and
That
it was
shoulder.
nagging at him last year. It didn't affect him much. He missed what, 10 games, 15 games
He
total?
missed. Well, no, on two separate occasions, he missed 2 to 3 weeks twice. So he missed. Yeah, he missed about 20 games, I'd say.
Right. So I mean, it didn't really hurt them that bad because they've already pretty much made the playoffs by then. But especially down the stretch, but he needs to stay healthy, and if he doesn't, that can mean bad times for the Red Sox. And the problem with having the same team as last year and not really improving on it, I don't see them getting to that 108 win mark like last year. They could do it. You're right, but having the same team, a lot of other teams got better, especially two in their division. So
Yeah, talk about them
it
in a minute.
could, they could repeat as 108 wins. I don't see that happening, but I have them number 1 just because they do have the same exact team, and Chris Sale will need to stay healthy. Period. So that
Um,
is the key factor.
funny you said your key factor was Sale. I think the injury thing, I get that. Mine's going to be third baseman Rafael Devers. He is very young, very talented. He could be a force this year. We saw what he did in the postseason, especially with his bat. He's got a huge swing, hit home runs, get on base. Um, his batting average wasn't that great as a first year rookie. I think he did solid. What he needs to work on is defensively. They switch third baseman every other game throughout the playoffs. Eduardo Nunez, Brock Holt, those are their utility players. Those are also huge in what they do, and they both play third base. They could make the stops. For some reason, Hunter, professional baseball players, it is hard for them to throw from third base to first base accurately as long
I
as you're
get
on
it.
the Red Sox. Don't know what it is about it, but he has to get better defensively. That's my key factor, is having a good defensive third baseman.
Well, they got a long time to, develop him. He is a good little star player. And
Good
yes,
future.
I get the defensive with Miguel Andujar. Yeah, he can't throw from third to first either. So I completely understand where you're
Yeah.
going with. Speaking of the New York Yankees, I do have them at my number two, sadly.
Oh, okay.
But just because they added depth in the pitching core, we all know they could score runs. They can hit home runs amazingly. Hopefully that carries over to this year. But defense wins championships. They did add depth in the pitching core with J.A. Happ and James Paxton, which that's two signings I really, really like.
Yeah.
But my key factor is pitching in general, but Severino. He had a sore shoulder a little later on during the season, and in the playoffs, he didn't really pitch to how he was in the regular season. Granted, he was going up against the Red Sox, but still, Severino getting paid $40 million extension. He needs to show what he's worth. He needs to prove that money and stay healthy. So him and the pitching core in general is my key factor for the Yankees. And them just scoring runs like they did. They have basically the same exact rotation, just adding pitchers, which
Yeah.
will help.
So mine is actually, and I agree with you there. Yankees I have on my third. My second's going to be the Astros. I think if we look at Sox, Astros, and the Yankees, what do they all have in common? They have the same team as last year, right?
Right.
We'll forget the Astros won 103 games last year. The Yankees won 100 games last year. Both improved from the previous year, from the previous season in which they both went 7 games in the ALCS. They got better, but the Red Sox jumped them so much they were too good. I think both Yankees and Astros. I can go 2 and 3. It really, take your pick. You can put them both at two. They're really, to me, talent wise, with the Red Sox right up there. They have the exact same team. I know they just signed Alex Bregman to a big 6-year deal. He was MVP candidate last year. He was tremendous at the plate. We already know what kind of fielder he is. They still have Altuve. They still have Cora. They still have Guerrera, and obviously they still have a great pitching staff with Verlander. Keuchel, I'm not sure if he's still signed. Was he not a free agent? That I was not sure of. I couldn't.
Not sure.
Dallas Keuchel, yeah. But if they can keep him on, that's great. They'll have another good team this year. Forrest Whitley is a prospect coming from the minors. He could easily step up into the starting rotation and be good for him. They could get better again. Like I said, these teams are improving every year. It's going to be so fun to watch, man. I don't know who's going to win the East this year, but it could be one of the three teams. I just put the Astros second because they have a little bit more postseason success than the Yankees, having won a championship just 2 years ago. Um, we'll jump to the third spot, which I'm not sure your third is, but mine is the Yankees. And I agree with you 100% what you said. I think they did improve on their pitching. I do think Severino is a key factor. My key factor would be, who is their closer? Because Chapman, once in the playoff, he can throw it 3 miles an hour, like
Right.
consistently,
Quick
and that's
ball.
pretty awesome. Can he do it accurately and consistently? Because last year he showed signs of up and down. When he was hot, yes, he'd get 10 saves in a row. struck out the side every time. It was great. When you find a hot hitting team like the other two teams they have to deal with so many times a year, the Astros and the Red Sox, he has struggles. You have to be successful against these good teams in order to move forward. I think closer Chapman will be the key factor for the Yankees this year.
Okay. Yeah, I get it. And like you said, your 2 and 3 can flip flop back and forth. My third is the Astros. A different key factor, Jose Altuve. He needs to fully recover from that knee surgery. It
Yeah,
was nagging at him throughout the season. And if honestly, I think when he was out, they had a little of a losing record in the time that he was out, or
yeah,
they
they
were
did.
up and down during that time. So I think he needs to be a key factor between the Astros. If he's not healthy, honestly, he's the backbone of that whole entire team in general, or offensively. So, I mean, it might not seem like much, but and they say he's good to go, but I mean that knee surgery could creep back up when he goes to steal or sprints to second.
Yeah.
So Jose Altuve, and another thing, Justin Verlander, backbone of the pitching core, and he needs to stay healthy and keep leading the team. He's what, 35 now? 34,
He's
35?
35. That's correct.
And that could usually when they get about 35, you start to show
Yeah,
signs of aging, unless
you'll
he
see
just flips the
velocity
bird
go
at
down
Father
for sure.
Time. I mean, he at 35, 34, 33, he's been doing really good, but I mean, he's staying healthy. So he's doing good for himself, but hopefully, if he can stay healthy, I think the Astros will be top notch like they were last year and the year before and the year before that, and
Yeah,
constant.
definitely.
Number 4, I have the Los Angeles Dodgers,
Okay.
just because they have great pitchers, great starting pitchers, and they have an easy division like every year. They're in the National League West, so they're not really contended. It's
Yeah.
basically a golden ticket to the playoffs. So in my opinion, the American League is better than the National League just because of pitching and defense.
Way better.
So, yeah. So, the Los Angeles Dodgers, I'm going to put at fourth behind the other three just because of that reason. They have phenomenal depth in the pitching with Clayton Kershaw and Walker Buehler and Rich Hill. So, they just pitching alone, it's phenomenal for the National League. So I put them at number 4 just for that reason, and they won the National League the past 2 years. So I think I mean, they could make a run for third time's a charm and actually win the World Series. They have a chance.
Yeah, I know why people chose the Dodgers. Much like I said, that they have basically the same team as before, with the exception of Puig and Machado, which are good players. I think their pitching staff is still very good. Their postseason success goes downhill for me because of Clayton Kershaw's postseason failure. I was very skeptical of the Red Sox last year in the postseason with David Price, and what a turnaround he had for his what was an awful postseason career so far. He turned it right around and was just lights out, unbelievable.
Sadly, yeah.
And less in the World Series in the postseason in general. Um, that's why I'm not going Dodgers 4. I'm going with the Milwaukee Brewers. The Brewers were one game away, that Game 7 against the Dodgers, from playing in that World Series. I would have been more nervous playing them than the Dodgers because of the MVP, Christian Yelich.
Yep.
What a season he had last year. He's come. They have the exact same team roster all the way. Plus, they get Jimmy Nelson back. He missed all last year with an injury. Um, they have a lot of money to get free agents. Obviously, no major ones yet. Look for them to get some free agents throughout the season and hopefully break that one game barrier, jump into the World Series. I think they could be the best team in the National League.
Okay. Definitely. They could be. Number 5, I'm going to go on a limb here. So you have the Braves, you have the Brewers, you have the Dodgers, you have the Twins. I'm going to go and say the Cubs. Honestly, 5 could go one of 17 different directions,
Yeah, yeah,
but I'm going to say the Cubs just because last year, I don't know what happened. I mean, they had a good year, but it wasn't like the World Series in 2016. I'm kind of confused on what all went wrong. I mean, in 2016, when they won the World Series, they racked up runs, home runs,
Yeah.
runs in, had an amazing offense. So the key factors for them, they need to stay healthy, and they need to score runs
Yeah.
like they did in 2016. I don't know what happened. I'm not all for flukes. The only fluke I believe in is the Carolina Panthers offensive line in 2015. But that is, I don't really believe in flukes. They have the potential there, but I need to see it. And not to mention, they need to help out their pitchers. I mean, your pitchers can only allow 3 runs, but if you only score 2, then what's the point? You don't have an offense to go with your defense.
Yeah.
So they need to stay healthy, score runs, and help out your pitchers.
I agree. I agree. You already mentioned these. One of you said 17 different options. I'm gonna go. This is kind of a limb, but I truly believe this is possible. The Atlanta Braves are going to be my fifth here. World Series
Young
odds
team.
are 12-1. That is according to ESPN. They were 22 games over 500 in their division last year, so I think making the playoffs with Ronald Acuna at the helm, obviously Freddie Freeman, it's really going to be exciting to watch the Braves this year. I enjoyed watching them last year. We know they started off real hot. A lot of teams have that mid-season kind of struggles where they just go on this big losing streak. They had that. I believe they lost 9 out of 10 at one point and dropped drastically. Then the second half of the season came up. Then Ronald Acuna came up. He was batting 322 in the second half of the season last year. As a rookie, that's phenomenal. That's why he won Rookie of the Year. I think he broke 20 home runs. He might already be the best player in the National League. I can't think of any other players. I mean, he seriously
Young
can bring
players.
this team. Do what?
Young players. Young players.
Young
Out of all the
players.
young players in the National League, yes.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I won't argue that. I won't argue that. I think he could be one of the best. And I think we're going to see it this year. After the way he finished last season, going into this season, I think they're just going to get better. They had 90 wins last year. I think they can get at least 5 or 6 more, be up there on that same level to me as, like you said, the Dodgers or the Brewers. I could see a Braves and Brewers NLCS. That would be awesome.
I mean, yeah, they've got a really good team. Their pitching is pretty good, and the only thing I don't really like about the Braves is they're young, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, but they do have time to build, so they
Yeah,
could
no, they are
build up.
young. They are a young team, and that
People
will make a
last year were,
difference.
yeah, people
But I
last
mean,
year were looking at it like
it's
they were
just
going to be up there.
seeing like how these young guys did in their first year, like Acuna. That was awesome. Now they're gonna have to replace Nick Markakis, assuming he doesn't maybe come back. I'm not sure the news on him was yet, but they have a good team to me. I think they can really improve this year. They have a great manager, so we'll see where they go. I think those are my top five. I got Sox, Astros, Yankees, Brewers, Braves.
I have Sox, Yankees, Astros, Dodgers, and Cubs.
I like it.
So I mean, yeah, basically like that fifth spot, it can go either way,
Yeah,
honestly.
I agree with you. It can be any team, but I'm, I'm not placing any bets, even though we can now. They have that major new bet rule going on. So, but I like the Braves a lot. I think they're a good team. I do respect your Dodgers move. I just don't think postseason wise, they're going to be able to make it that far with the players they have now.
True. Very true. Well, that was a successful podcast. It was supposed to be
All right,
30 minutes and it rounded up being about 40.
that's all
So
right.
that's all right. Get more content in there. This
Yeah,
is our first episode, our first season. This is our first time ever doing it. We will be
yeah,
back every Friday for the week's hottest sports topics.
that's
Thank you,
right.
Nick, for joining. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you guys for watching. And I will catch you guys later. Thank you. Cool.